Last week, I was in Tasmania on vacation, and one rainy night, I happened to bump into a man while walking around. We started chatting, and he was one of those people you instantly connective with. He told me he was a programmer and had done really well with crypto. Financially, he was set. But as we kept talking, he mentioned that he felt a bit lost, like he didn't know what to do with his life anymore. "If you had all the money in the world this very instant, what would you do?" he asked. And as I normally do, I overanalyze. What's your purpose? Why are we here? Are we just another mammalian species born into the world only to die? Are we just biological machines coded by DNA, destined to run out of time? Is our ability to question life and its meaning what separates us from the rest of nature? I'd really like to hear your thoughts. Subscribe and leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. According to the Greek philosopher Aristotle, everything in nature works towards a purpose. For humans, our ultimate purpose is to achieve happiness, what Aristotle referred to as eudaimonia. Eudaimonia is about living a life of virtue, purpose, and meaning. Aristotle believed that this pursuit of happiness is what drives human behavior, whether it's making major life decisions like changing careers or the small choices we make each day. We are ultimately guided by the desire to lead a meaningful life. However, Aristotle argued that true happiness cannot be found in fleeting moments of pleasure or joy. Experiences such as enjoying a meal or spending time with friends may bring joy, but they do not define a happy life. According to Aristotle, a person cannot know if they have lived a happy life until they reflect on it as a whole, often at the end of life itself. Happiness, therefore, is not a transient feeling, but a state of being that emerges from a life lived well. For Aristotle, the key to achieving eudaimonia lies in intellectual contemplation, engaging deeply with life's big questions, seeking wisdom, and using reason to understand the world. Aristotle believed that reason is what distinguishes humans from other living beings, and by cultivating our intellect, we move closer to our highest potential. Cynicism is another school of thought in ancient Greek philosophy that emerged during the classical period and later spread through the Hellenistic and Roman imperial eras. The Cynics believed that the key to happiness was living in harmony with nature, guided by reason and free from the constraints of society. They saw virtue as the only true good and believed it could be achieved through a life of simplicity, rejecting wealth, power, fame, and even social norms. Diogenes became the most famous figure of the Cynic movement. Diogenes is known for his radical lifestyle, living in a ceramic jar on the streets of Athens and performing public acts that challenged social conventions. Over time, Cynicism declined in influence. By the 19th century, the meaning of cynicism shifted. It came to represent a general distrust of human motives, a far cry from the original philosophical pursuit of virtue through a life of simplicity. A more modern perspective on the search for meaning comes from existentialism. According to existentialist philosophy, life has no predetermined meaning. There is no divine plan or authority shaping our purpose. Instead, we are free, and we must create our own meaning through the choices we make. Søren Kierkegaard spoke of a leap of faith, arguing that life is full of absurdity, and we must create our own values in a world that may seem indifferent. This freedom, however, can bring feelings of anxiety and dread, what existentialists call angst, as we confront the responsibility of shaping our lives in the face of death and uncertainty. Friedrich Nietzsche argued that life is meaningful only when we have goals that inspire us. Without them, we fall into nihilism, the belief that life is ultimately meaningless. Absurdist philosophy explores the tension between our search for meaning and the apparent lack of meaning in the universe. This conflict, known as the absurd, arises because humans are driven to seek purpose. Yet the universe offers no clear answers. Philosophers like Søren Kierkegaard and Albert Camus outline three possible responses to this dilemma. Firstly, suicide, to simply end one's life as an escape from the absurd. Both Kierkegaard and Camus reject this option, seeing it as a surrender rather than a solution. Secondly, religious faith, to believe in a higher reality or transcendent purpose beyond the absurd. Kierkegaard referred to this as a leap of faith, an act of belief that goes beyond reason. Camus, however, dismissed this as philosophical suicide, arguing that it avoids confronting the absurd directly. Lastly, acceptance, to embrace the absurd and continue living despite it. Camus favored this approach, suggesting that we can find freedom in accepting life's lack of inherent meaning. Kierkegaard, however, saw this acceptance as a form of demonic madness, a stubborn defiance against the universe. Now, let's shift our focus to religion and its understanding of life's purpose. Religions throughout history have tried to answer the question, why are we here? Take Christianity, for example. At its core, Christianity teaches that the purpose of life is to seek salvation through the grace of God, made possible by the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. The New Testament describes God as wanting a relationship with humanity, not just in this life, but in the life to come. But this relationship requires the forgiveness of sin. According to Christian teaching, humans were created in God's image, but the fall of man, a story from Genesis, brought sin into the world. Through Christ's sacrifice, this broken relationship can be restored. For Christians, life's ultimate purpose is to seek God, receive His grace, and live in communion with Him. Now, let's explore Hinduism, one of the world's oldest and most complex religious traditions. Unlike many Western religions, Hinduism isn't a single, unified doctrine. It's a vast collection of beliefs and practices that evolved over thousands of years. It doesn't have a rigid, dogmatic structure. Instead, Hindu teachings are generally non-exclusive, suggestive, and tolerant, encouraging individual exploration of life's meaning. At the core of Hindu philosophy is the belief that each person's true self, the Atman, is eternal. Life isn't confined to a single lifetime. It's a journey of the soul through many lifetimes, shaped by karma, the consequences of one's actions. Hinduism outlines four main goals, or purusharthas, for a meaningful life. Karma, seeking pleasure, love, and enjoyment. Artha, striving for prosperity and success. Dharma, fulfilling moral duties and righteous living. Moksha, the ultimate goal, liberation from the cycle of birth and rebirth, known as samsara. Hinduism also embraces a rich tradition of devotional practices, with devas, manifestations of a higher reality, serving as guides or inspirations in the spiritual journey. To close, I really resonate with how Rekha and Wong define personal meaning as the cognizance of order, coherence, and purpose in one's existence, the pursuit and attainment of worthwhile goals, and an accompanying sense of fulfillment. Wong offers a helpful framework called Pure, which outlines four essential components to finding meaning in life: purpose, understanding, responsibility, and enjoyment. You need to choose a worthy purpose or life goal that truly matters to you. You also need a clear understanding of who you are, what life demands, and how you can play a meaningful role. Importantly, you alone are responsible for deciding what kind of life you want to live and what goals are significant. Finally, true enjoyment and satisfaction come from actively pursuing those goals with commitment and responsibility. For me, this whole idea comes down to how we shape our own meaning. Whether that's chasing career satisfaction, making family your priority, or setting your sights on traveling the world, it's not just about having a single purpose tucked away in a corner of your life. It's about how meaning flows through everything, your choices, your awareness, and how you engage with the world. And here's the thing, every single person is searching for meaning in some way. You'll meet people chasing the same dreams or something completely different. That's the beauty of it. And I believe we should approach that with tolerance. Don't judge someone else's path, and don't expect them to walk yours. That way of thinking may lead to division and hate. Life's too short for that. We're here for a blink of an eye. And that time should be spent finding joy, chasing purpose, and living a life that feels meaningful to you.